So, dear friends,
Okay,
you're
sir.
welcome in this class. I'm very happy to be with you. The topic of today's lecture is factors affecting plant growth. Friends, these factors are also called as inputs. Sometimes these factors are also called as resources. We need to understand what are the resources that affect the growth of the plant. You know, the job of agronomy is to manage the resources, is to manage the inputs, or is to manage the factors. So factors, inputs, resources, they are the same thing. There are two kinds of factors or resources or inputs. Some are natural and some are artificial. Artificial, or you can say man-made. Natural resources are land, water, forest, minerals, petroleum products, wildlife. These are our natural resources. Artificial or man-made resources include your fertilizer, manures, herbicides, machinery. These kind of inputs are covered under artificial resources. So actually in the production process, the land means your soil. It also includes light. Sunlight is part of land. In broader sense, land means your soil. Land also includes this air. It includes sunlight. Such kind of resources are included in land. So number of resources, number of factors are there that affect the growth. So our objective is to use natural resources to the minimum or in such a way that they are conserved. We are able to conserve the natural resources. We are able to conserve the water. We are able to conserve the air. We do not allow pollution of the air. And we should also see that soil is also protected, not polluted. Water is not polluted. And we should minimize the use of artificial inputs. Artificial inputs are your fertilizer, machinery, etc., etc. So we need to combine natural resources with artificial resources to produce the crop. So in this case, you will discuss what are the factors or inputs or resources that will affect the growth of the crop. You will learn what several things in this lecture. For example, first, you will see the meaning of plant growth. What do we mean by plant growth? We will try to learn. And what are the factors that affect it? And then we will see the influence of different factors on plant growth. How individual factor will affect the plant growth. So I will start. Can you see the slides are moving? Have you seen new slide? Slides are moving?
Yes, sir. We have the slides. Yeah.
Okay. Now, friends, see some.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Some difficult terms like base temperature. Base temperature is the lowest temperature threshold below which development ceases. So this is the minimum temperature. If temperature occurs below this temperature, then plants will die. Growth will not happen. So this is the minimum level of temperature that is required for survival of the plants. Biotic factors means an aspect of environment related to organism. Biotic means factors related to living things. It may include your disease-causing organism. It includes animals or insects or plants, etc. Then diversity. Diversity with respect to microbes, diversity with respect to crops, number of a variety of species in a location, community, ecosystem or agroecosystem, or the degree of heterogeneity of biotic components of an ecosystem or agroecosystem. So friends, this diversity can be at different scales. It can be at different levels. It can be diversity can be for one field. It can be for 1 acre land. It can be for 20 acre land. It can be for one district, or it can be for one province, or it can be for country as a whole. So diversity can be at different scales, at field scale or at agroecosystem scale or ecosystem scale. Means how many different kind of animals or plants or living things are there. The variety is called as diversity. More the variety of species in a location, more is the diversity. It is also called as biodiversity. If you take it with respect to soil, then it is called as soil biodiversity. If you take it with respect to plants, it is called as crop biodiversity or crop diversity. Now, genotype into environment interactions. Friends, you know that the genotype of an individual plant or organism is mainly influenced by the environment. The genotype and environment interaction is always there. So what are the relative changes in the genotype performance when grown under different environments? For example, you have two kinds of plants. One is a simple variety of the crop and other is a hybrid plant. So you know, under low fertility condition, this variety will do better than the hybrid, and hybrid will do better under high fertility condition than the normal variety. So you see, if you change the environment, the response changes. The effect of genes is affected by the environment. Such kind of interaction is called as genotype environment interaction. Phenology. Phenology is a study of the sequence of developmental stages of a plant and how it relates to climate. So phenology is with respect to phasic changes in phases. I can give one best example of phenology. See, when I was born, I was a small child. I was called a baby, a child. When I started growing, I became adolescent. Adolescent means youth, just before youth. When my mustache started coming out, so that was adolescent. And then I became youth. And then after youth, I became adult. And the adult continued, and then I became an old man. So this is how different phases occurred in my life. This is phenology. Means the development phases, where you get changes in the organs, changes in things, and the structures changes sometimes. They do not match to the previous. See the case of plants. Initially, germination happened. So initially, it was a seed. So it was a phase, seed. Then it started germination. Germination, it became seedling. And then it started growth. If it is a cereal plant, then it will be called as a tiller. It will give you some tillers, 2 tillers, 3 tillers. So tilling will happen. So that will be vegetative stage. Then it will go to flowering. That will be reproductive stage. Then it will go for seed development phase, seed maturation. So these are the different phases of life of a plant, which is called as phenology. Now, photoperiod sensitivity, requirement for a minimum or maximum day length for reproductive phase induction. Means it is the length of the day or length of the sunlight that affects the flowering in the plants. Now, phylochrone, rate of appearance of leaves on a shoot, means how many leaves can be there or can originate on one plant in 1 week or 10 days. That is called as phylochrone. Plant vegetative and reproductive plasticity. vegetative and reproductive plasticity means flexibility. So ability of an individual plant within a crop to modify the number of vegetative and reproductive structures depending on the amount of available resources. So sometimes the plants or crop change their growth behavior, change their reproductive behavior. For example, if you know about pulse millet is in India, it is called as bajra. Pulse millet is a cereal plant and grains are used as food. So this pulse millet plant is a drought hardy plant. It is drought tolerant plant. If the severity of the drought increases, so this plant can reduce the duration. It can mature fast. It is able to reduce the duration and it will give you some seed. So therefore, this is plasticity. Profile, a plant structure resembling a leaf as a bracteole or consisting of a modified or rudimentary leaf. Now, friends, we have seen some terminology in brief. Now we will see the meaning of growth. What do we mean by growth? Every student, every agronomy student should know the meaning of growth. So friends, on the right side, you are able to see a picture. This picture is for pulse millet. So pulse millet, you know, it is a drought hardy crop. And I have shown you that it can mature faster if your drought occurs. So that is called as plasticity of the crop to avoid stresses. Now coming to the growth, you can see the definition of the growth. Tomorrow you will be a teacher, you will be teaching your student. If they ask you what do we mean by growth, plant growth. So best definition is a permanent and irreversible change in size and volume of a living structure with an accompanied increase in dry weight. This is the best definition of growth. You see, it is a permanent change and irreversible change. You cannot bring it back. It is irreversible. Once the growth has happened, you cannot reduce it. Suppose my height is 6 feet, so it will remain 6 feet. I cannot decrease my height. It will remain 6 feet. So it is irreversible change in size and volume of a living structure with an accompanied increase in dry weight. So the condition is that dry weight should increase simultaneously. Then we will call it as growth. It describes the irreversible changes with time, which are mainly in size. Sometimes size can increase. However, this may be measured, often in form. What are different forms? For example, number of tillers. In some crops like rice and wheat, we count the number of tillers that represent the growth. If you find the increase in tiller number, that means the plant is doing the growth. If you see the increase in height, then plant is doing the growth, and occasionally in number. So this is how plant growth is defined. Do you have any question on definition of plant growth?
No, thank you, sir. It's all of explained well.
Now please see it carefully. This is quite interesting picture. It is life cycle of an annual seed-bearing plant. Seed-bearing plant showing growth and developmental processes. So you can see how the growth and development happens in plant. What is the difference in growth and development? So in this slide, if you see clearly, if you try to understand, it will bring you differences in plant growth and the phenology, the development. So you can see that the life of the plant starts with zygote. Zygote is the result of fusion of sperm and ovum from the plant. And then this fertilized egg, it contains 2N, 2n means one, 2n means chromosome number. This 2n is chromosome number. 1n comes from mother side, female side, 1n comes from father side. So then it becomes 2n. In case of endosperm, it is 3n, 3 times of n. N is your gametic chromosome number. So fertilized egg is there and you get the zygote. This zygote is developing into embryo. You know, when zygote multiplies, it increases in cells, cell number. Cell numbers are increased by, vegetative mitosis, mitosis happens and cell number increase in the zygote. And it also increases the size of the cells. Then it becomes embryo. And then in embryo, embryogenesis happens. It will develop different parts of the seed. So through embryogenesis, it makes the seed. And this seed contains your embryo. The seed will contain embryo. So here also growth has happened. Some growth has happened at the initial stage from zygote up to the seed. And this seed contains embryo and endosperm. There are two parts. Endosperm is the nourishment. It will give food to the germinating embryo or germinating, embryo. So seed contains endosperm and your embryo. But when the seed germinates, it requires right moisture, right oxygen, means oxygen or air is required, and optimum temperature. So these three conditions are necessary for the seed germination. The seed will germinate, it will go to germination. So there is some development, there is some phenology. From one cell, it has become embryo multicellular, and then it is enclosed in the seed, and seed germinates, and upon germination, the initial plant, the first plant will be called as seedling. This will be called as seedling. And then the vegetative growth starts. Vegetative growth starts. What happens in vegetative growth? It increases in height. Sometimes in plants increase in height, or they increase the leaf number, they increase the tillers, and they increase the root size, root dry weight, etc. So you can see different plant parts are growing. Here you can measure the leaf area index to see how much is the growth in the leaves, how much is the increase in size of leaf area, or number of leaves can also be counted. Here we can also count the branches. So this is important for agronomy student. This is studying the growth parameters. Then these kind of growth parameters like plant height, tillers, root weight, dry weight, so many things, they are affected by number of factors. They are affected by number of factors because we want good growth. If our growth is not good, it cannot give us good yield. So we want optimum growth of the crops. And this optimum growth of the crop is affected by number of factors. And we want to optimize, or we want to apply, or we want to supply these factors so that we get good growth. And then by good growth, we can get good yield. So therefore, we should understand what are the factors that will affect this growth. So several factors will affect this growth. We will discuss it. Once the vegetative growth is complete, then plant will shift to reproductive growth. In reproductive growth, it will start making flowers. It will start making panicles or spikes, and then it will flower. So that is called as reproductive stage. And reproductive stage ends at flowering. After flowering, when flowering happens, then pollination will happen. The pollens will go to the female part and then germinate, and they will fertilize the egg or ovum, and then zygote will develop. So this reproductive stage ends when fertilization completes. After fertilization, the seed development start. So reproductive stage is only up to pollination and fertilization. Then here you see formation of flowers and then formation of fruits, and seeds occur after the flowering, which is called as fruit development or seed development. Fruit development or seed development will happen after pollination and fertilization. So then you will see fruiting in plant, and then again you will find this embryo and seed after fertilization. And finally you will get seed. So you see, it is just a cycle from seed to seed. So you have seen these are different phases in the life of the plant. And what is the reason for change of these phases? It is the nature of the plant. It is in the genes of the plant. It is genetics of the plant, according to which the plant works. And it is fixed. Everything is fixed, already fixed. So hope you could understand this picture. If you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, I move to the next slide. Now,
No, sir, no question.
okay. Now you see,
Yes, sir.
oh, no problem. Now you see heading stages of cellular growth. Here, how individual cell grows, how one cell can grow. So it is cell division. Cell division, particularly mitosis. This mitosis increases the cell number, and mitosis happens in vegetative parts. It happens in vegetative parts. Then comes the cell enlargement. So individual cell will enlarge, will increase in size, then growth will happen. And once you get sufficient kind of cells, then these will differentiate. These will differentiate. You know, initially it was zygote. From zygote, it has become embryo. And then embryogenesis happens. So through embryogenesis, for example, when I was in the womb of my mother, that time my hands were formed, my eyes were formed, my legs were formed. So what was happening then? It was kind of cell differentiation. Cell differentiation happened. Some cells made my tooth, some cells made my hair. So this was all differentiation. Similarly, in plant also, cell differentiation. Cell is one. You know, zygote was one. It was one cellular. But from one cellular zygote, you see, variety of cells have been made in me. Some cells, brain cells, are different from my leg cells. Cells which are in my legs, they are different from my brain cells. So similarly, in plants also, you see, there are different parts. One is stem, other is root, some are leaves, some are flowers, some are fruits. Different plant parts are there. But they will have different kind of cells, different kind of tissues. So it happens by the process of cell differentiation. And in cell differentiation, plant hormones play a very important role in cell differentiation. In root induction, you know, if you have a gulab, you know, gulab tahni, gulab branch, you can cut it and you can dip it in indole butyric acid and it will give you roots. So it is the role of the hormone that from simple stem cells, it has made the root cells. It has converted to the roots. So this is called as cell differentiation. So where structure of the cells changes to perform specific functions, the similar type of cells having same functions form a group. That is called as tissue. So you can see that through cell division and cell enlargement, growth happens. At a smaller level, the cell division and cell enlargement and differentiation are the reasons for the growth. These are the reasons for the growth. Now you see in bacteria and algae, how growth happens. The entire body grows. In higher plants, growth occurs in cell or growing region. Growing region are mostly on the tip of the stem or tip of the root. Plants grow from the tips or sometimes side growth is there, lateral growth is also there, through which the stem becomes thicker. And if you see plants increase in height, then it is because of apical dominance. And you see on the lateral side, the stem can become thicker. It is because of lateral growth. So two kind of growth is there. One is in the growing cells or growing region, other is lateral sides. Growth at the tips leads to the elongation of the body part. So elongation of the body part happens in the plant from the top, from the apex part, they grow. They grow from the top. They do not grow from the base. And growth at lateral side, sideways, leads to increased thickness of stem or root. Now see, growth is of two kinds. One is determinate growth habit, other is indeterminate growth habit. Friends, you are seeing on the left side, it is rice plant. On the right side, it is cowpea. I know cowpea is grown in your country. I got one thesis by Muhammad Ali. I think he was my student. He did work on, I forgot his name. He worked on cowpea, black-eyed bean. It is also called as black-eyed bean. On the right side, you are seeing its pods are used, its seeds are used as pulses. So you see in case of rice and wheat, first the vegetative stage will be there. After completion of the vegetative stage, the reproductive stage will start. Reproductive stage will start, and then the harvesting will be done. So this is determinate growth habit. In indeterminate growth habit, initially the vegetative stage will start. Plant will produce leaves, branches. It will increase in height, and then it will start flowering. It will start flowering. Flowering means reproductive stage, but it will also continue vegetative stage. So overlapping of vegetative stage and reproductive stage, or you can say that for the time period, some vegetative growth and reproductive growth happens together. This kind of growth is called as indeterminate growth habit. It is seen in some pulses, and determinate growth is seen in cereals like maize. I hope that you got the meaning of determinate and indeterminate growth habit of the plants. So these are kind of growth habits in plant. Now, there is one more thing which is called as growth curve. Curve, you know, curve is a line which is made by freehand. So growth rate of plant varies with time in life cycle. Initially slow, and then it can be fast. The rate of growth initially very slow, and then it will be very fast, and then it will become steady and start falling. Sometimes it can go negative also. So plotting the increase in cell number with time, a typical S-shaped curve is obtained, which is called as sigmoid growth curve. So there are three different phases of sigmoid growth curve. Lag phase, LAG lag. Lag phase means kind of negativity, negative. Initial phase, rate of growth is very, very slow. Log phase. Log phase is rapid growth and highest in entire life cycle. Stationary phase or steady phase. Rate of growth starts decreasing and finally stops. So this is called, these are three different phases of the growth curve. Now you can see in this picture, you can see initially the growth. On x-axis, you have any growth factor or time. On x-axis, you can have time. On y-axis, you have dry weight. So dry weight indirectly tells us the growth. So you can see initially it is lag phase. A very slow increase, or rather slight decrease is there. So initially there is some decrease, and then it will start increasing slowly. And from this point, you can see rapid growth during this period. It is very fast growth, then it slows down, and it can fall also. It can become negative also, or reduce growth. So this is called as sigmoid curve of growth. So what happens? In the field of agronomy, we should see the requirement of the inputs. Requirement of the input will be more when the plant is going through the log phase. During this phase. So during this phase, it may need more water, it may need more nutrients, it will need more inputs. So we need to match the supply of inputs with this phase, with the log phase. That is why it is important to study the log phase. Now, measurement of the plant growth. Now, question will come, can we measure the plant growth? See, students do MSc degree. They also write thesis. In thesis, you write different growth parameters. You write leaf area index, you write plant height, you record CGR, crop growth rate, RGR, relative growth rate, net assimilation ratio, dry matter production. Why we do it? We do it to measure it. We want to see how the growth rate is changing with time. Was it faster initially? Was it slower? At what particular growth stage? What was the rate of change? So that is the purpose of studying the growth or growth rate. Now you can see growth in plants is measured in relation to time. In relation to time means weekly interval, monthly interval. We take interval, when we record the data, we record at a fixed duration. So dry matter accumulation in plant or plant parts, we can take the whole plant, we can take the root, we can take both root and shoot, and sometimes we can separate stem part, leaf part, or seed part differently. We can measure the plant growth in terms of plant height, in terms of length or breadth. Sometimes we can measure the length of the grain, length of the pod, length of the spike or panicle, or sometimes we can see the breadth. You know about potato, you know about tomato. We can measure the breadth or width of the fruits. We can see the growth. Increase in volume. Many times we can see the root volume. Students who study on root growth, they always measure root volume. Increase in leaf number and size. You can count the leaf. The students working on maize, they can count the leaf numbers and they can see the size of the leaf. Leaf area can be measured. Increase in branching. How many branches are there on mustard? How many branches are there in chickpea or legume plants or some oilseed plants? We can count the number of branches to see the growth. And then tillers, the tiller number can be counted in cereal crops, rice, wheat, barley, etc. So all these are actually can measure the growth. They can measure the growth. They can count the growth. Otherwise, if you want to be a bit more scientific, you can take the fresh weight to judge the growth. It is very easy thing to take the fresh weight. You harvest the plant from a fixed area and you take the fresh weight. You can take 2 days and then again take 15 days later and then see the difference in fresh weight. So this is also a measure. Then we can take dry weight. We can use the same sample. Same sample can be used to measure the dry weight. You can put your samples in the oven and then remove the water, and then whatever is left is your dry weight. You can put it at 70 to 80 degrees centigrade for 21 to 48 hours, and you will see that all moisture is evaporated, and whatever is left in the sample is your dry weight. So we can measure the dry weight. Length can be measured suitable for organs grown in one direction. For example, root length or shoot length can be measured. Sometimes area can be measured as a measure of plant growth. Measuring the growth of plant organs like leaf, we can measure the leaf area. Now, friends, see this picture. It tells you the summary of up to whatever I discussed up to now. It summarizes everything. So you see the every farmer wants returns. Why people do farming? Why farmers are doing crop production? First thing is that they want to satisfy their need. They need food. They produce crops for family. Okay. But they also need clothes. They cannot produce clothes. Everybody cannot produce clothes. They cannot produce many things which they require. So they need money. So farmers need money from crop production or from agriculture. That is why they are doing it. So they want returns. They want some returns, some benefit, some profit is required by the farmer. And when they can get profit, if they get good yields, then they will get good returns. But how they can get the good yield? Good yield they can get from the optimum growth. This optimum growth can give them good yield, and good yield can give them good returns. But now question comes, if good growth is not there, if ideal growth is not there, how come we can get the good yield and good returns? So growth is the main thing which should be manipulated, which should be improved to get more returns. To succeed, to be successful in farming, we need optimum growth. And this optimum growth is affected by number of factors. So factors which are affecting the growth, they are also affecting the yield. And these factors are also affecting the returns. They are also affecting the returns, the profit. So we need to understand factors, or we need to optimize the level of factors. It is not that always increasing the level of a factor will result in more growth. It can result in more growth, but that may not be economical, that may not be beneficial. So we need to find out the optimum level of these factors. We need to find out the optimum level of these inputs or these resources at which we get maximum returns, more money, more profit. So let us understand these growth factors. So as you also know, that growth is affected by, or yield is affected by, genetics and environment. So genetics is the plant type, the variety we are taking, the crop which we are growing will affect the growth and yield. And also the environment, the soil environment, the climatic environment, the water environment, all these factors will affect the growth of the or yield of the crop. And besides this, there will be interaction also. Genetic and environment interactions are also there. So broadly, you can see there are three factors. One is genetic factor, second is environmental factor, and third is genetics into environment. Interaction also happens, which becomes a factor. This is also important. Now, friends, you can see that there are large number of factors. Havlin said there are 52 factors which affect the growth of the crop. They said that 45 factors can be manipulated by the farmers. However, farmers cannot manage 7 factors. Like temperature cannot be manipulated by farmers. Sunlight, they cannot control the sunlight. They cannot control violent storms, flooding, rainfall, carbon dioxide, altitude. So these are the 7 factors which are beyond the control of the farmers. Now you see many people have given different list of the factors. For example, here Strauss has given number of factors that affect the growth of the plant. So you can read them later. You can see more factors are there, number of factors are there. So you can go through it. But for the convenience of the student, I have made this picture so that you can easily understand how many factors affect the plant and how these factors are classified. This is good for the students. So now you can divide these factors. See from the left side, it is written as factors. So factors are external factors and internal or genetic factors. So you can see what are the external factors. External factors are 3. They can be divided into environmental factors, management factors, and socio-economic factors. Very easy. There are two factors, external factor, internal or genetic factors. External factors are three: environmental factors, management factors, and socio-economic factors. So these environmental factors are further divided into two. One is abiotic factors, other is biotic factor. You know, in any environment, any individual's environment, there are always two factors. Living component and non-living component are always there. So non-living components are your abiotic factors and living components are your biotic factors. So biotic factors like your organism in the soil, animals, insects, your bacteria, viruses, nematodes, these are weeds, these are all biotic factors. Abiotic factors are plants, wants plus light. WANTS, wants plus light. So in wants, W for water or moisture, A for atmosphere or air, N for nutrients, or you can say nutrient status, T for temperature, and S for soil or somewhere to grow. S for soil or somewhere to grow plus light. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are about 6 abiotic factors, main 6 abiotic factors are there and biotic factors. So in management factors, friend, it is all agronomic factors, the cultural practices, seed rate, the rate of the seed, the plant spacing, plowing, tillage, or crop rotations. These are the management factors, or all agronomic factors are actually management factors. So they also affect the growth. Management factor. That is why when you do your MSc research, sometimes you take different spacing. Sometimes you take different seed rate. Sometimes you take different seed depth. Sometimes you take different varieties and so on. Why we are taking or making changes in all these variables or all these management variables or cultural practices? Why? Because they are going to affect the growth. They will affect the rate of the growth. And we will choose the optimum factor where we get the good growth or high growth. We can choose that spacing, we can choose that seed rate and so on. So these management factors are very, very important to study in relation to growth of the crops or growth of the plants. Then socio-economic factors like the economic status of the farmer, whether farmer is rich or poor. A farmer who is rich, his crop can have better growth than the farmer who is poor, who does not have money to buy resources or inputs. So therefore, economic status of the farmer will also affect the growth. The big farmer, the rich farmer can have tractors and he can do plowing in time. He can do plowing fast. So he can do sowing in time. So therefore, the growth of the crop will be better than the farmer who is not having tractor and speed up the plowing process. Similarly, social factors like your educational status. A farmer who is educated can manage the crops better than the farmer who is uneducated. Means your social factors, economic factors affect the growth. So these are the factors, and now we will discuss one by one. First of all, let us see the genetics factors or internal factor, how they affect the growth. Friends, you must have seen some trees, you must have seen some bushes, you must have seen some grasses, some small plants and some tall plants. Why a plant is tall? Eucalyptus plant is tall because it has a genotype. It has genes which lead to greater plant height. But a chickpea plant or gram plant has shorter height because its genes are like this. Means genetics is affecting the growth. An elephant will give you elephant. Elephant will give you elephant. A mouse, a rat will give you rat. So it is in genetics. A plant type, a variety which is hybrid, it will give you more growth. It will have more tillers, more yields. So a plant variety which is having low yield, it will have less growth. So a lot of genetics govern the growth. Sometimes you see The genetics also affect the quality. The quality, some apples may be there in your country. Some varieties of apple may be tasty. Some apples may be good. Some may not be that much good. Why it is so? It is because of the genetics. The genes affect the quality. Genes affect the quantity. So genetic factors means, therefore, we try to develop the varieties which have better growth, and particularly under adverse climatic condition. There may be some adverse factors. There may be drought, there may be salinity, there may be excess water. So breeders try to develop varieties that can fit better under those conditions. They can grow there and they can give you good growth. So genetic factors are equally important to environmental factors or external factors or other factors. So I hope you understand the meaning of genetic factors. Some varieties, some plants grows faster, grow more, and others grow less because of differences in their gene. Differences in their gene. In some countries, people are very tall. In some countries, people are not tall. In my country, in India, the people in Western India, Rajasthan, people are taller. If you go to East India, people are smaller. Their height is small. So it is all in genetics. They are having different kind of genes. So height, all these characters of growth is affected by the genetics of the individual. Now see, you can see within the genetics or internal factors, you can see you have two kind of crops, C3 crops and C4 crops. So C3 crops have generally lower growth speed than the C4 crops. You see maize, you see sugarcane, you see maize, sugarcane, pulse millet, and your jowar, sorghum, pulse millet, sugarcane. These are C4 crops. If you see soybean, it is a C3 crop. So normally C4 crops have more growth than the C3 crop. Do you find sugarcane in your country? Do you grow sugarcane in your country?
Yes, sir. Yes, yeah.
Okay. You also grow sugar beet for
Yes.
sugar production.
Labubu. Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. In some parts of my country, in some province, they grow sugar cane and also sugar beet.
That is
Not
good.
in whole of Pakistan. Yeah, in some provinces.
Good. So you must have seen sugarcane crop. It is good crop. It gives us sugar. So see, there is differences in the growth behavior in C3 or C4 plant. And you see varieties. You must be going to your field, experimental field. You will see some variety may have more height, some variety may have less height. So the growth pattern of different varieties may be different. Some varieties may have more dry matter production, some will have less dry matter production. Some will have more yield, some will have less yield. So this, sometimes it is governed by the genetics of varieties, sometimes whether it is C3 plant or C4 plant, and yielding ability, early maturity. The varieties which mature early, their growth is initially faster, but overall growth is less. Early maturing variety generally have less growth. Total growth or total dry matter production is less in early maturing variety compared to late maturing variety. Late maturing variety get more time for growth. So their total growth is more compared to the early maturity variety. Similarly, drought, flood, and salinity tolerance. So varieties which are tolerant to these conditions will have better growth than the varieties which are not tolerant. Tolerance to insect, pest, and diseases. Some varieties may be tolerant to biotic factors, insect, pest, and disease. So definitely those varieties will give you better growth than the varieties which are susceptible to insect, pest, and diseases. Chemical composition of grains. Friends, I think Dr. Dibakar Mahanta must have taught you the inverse yield nitrogen law. Inverse yield nitrogen law. by Wilcox. That law says as the nitrogen concentration in plant tissues increases, the yield decreases. Less the nitrogen concentration in plant parts, more is the yield. More nitrogen concentration, less yield. That is inverse yield nitrogen law. So if you have some crops which have more nitrogen, like leguminous crop, their growth is slow because they need to produce grains. They need to produce grains which contain more protein, more nitrogen. So therefore, their growth is low compared to cereal crops, compared to potato. Potato has very high yield, 25 tons, 30 tons per hectare potato tuber is given. But these pulses give you hardly 1 ton of grain. And potato is giving us 25, 30 tons of tubers per hectare. So these tuber contains very less quantity of nitrogen, which may be just 0.1%. If you see the nitrogen percentage in pulses grain or legume grains, it can be 3%, 4%. 4% nitrogen in legume grains. So means the crops which have energy-rich seeds or oils are produced, those crops have less growth compared to other kind of crops. Protein content, quality of grains and straw. So quality, as I told you before also. So generally speaking, if you want better quality, more quality, then definitely the total growth will be less. If you want less quality, and then you can have more growth. It is very subjective thing. So you can see improved genetics has increased the yield potential. Higher yields due to improved genetics maybe require more nutrients. Now, we want more growth, but at the same time, for getting more growth, we need to supply more inputs under those conditions. Now you see, again, I'm showing you external factors, as I told you. Internal factor just now discussed. External factors are environment, management, and socio-economic factors. And in environmental factors, we have abiotic factors and biotic factors. So now you see, many factors are interrelated. You cannot keep them in isolation. They work together. They work together. For example, if you want to supply oxygen to the plant roots accept rice. Other plants cannot survive in water normally. Other crop plants do not survive in water. Rice can survive in water. So except rice, if you flood the soil, if you put more water in the soil and you are growing wheat and you have flooded the land, within few days, if you keep the submerged soil, the wheat crop will die soon. Maybe within 3-4 days, wheat plants will die because they are not getting oxygen. So the water has affected oxygen. If we supplied more water to the soil, so oxygen supply disappeared. So they were interrelated. You see, interrelation was there. Similarly, if you remove the water, you will get more oxygen in the soil, but water will be less. So their water shortage can affect the growth, though there may be more oxygen. Another important point, that the ratio of water and air changes in the soil. You know, ratio of water and air changes in the soil. If you have more water, you will have less air. If you remove the water, if you have less water, you will have more air. This variation in air and water, this proportion in air and water in soil also affect the temperature, soil temperature. So you see, soil temperature is affected by the amount of water and air in the soil. This is one kind of interaction. Secondly, this temperature can also affect the water availability. On one side, water is affecting the soil temperature. Are you getting the point? On one side, water is affecting the soil temperature. On the second time, the temperature outside, air temperature, is affecting the water content in soil. So many factors are interrelated. Many factors are interrelated. So soil, air, and moisture, they are interrelated. I explained you. Oxygen and carbon dioxide. Friends, they are opposite. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are opposite. If you increase carbon dioxide in soil through respiration by the roots, through respiration by the soil organism, carbon dioxide increases in the soil. So it will decrease the oxygen. It will decrease the oxygen. But if you take out carbon dioxide outside, then it will increase the oxygen. So they are in equilibrium. They are in equilibrium, you can say. Diffusion rate of oxygen to plant roots and soil temperature. So I already explained you relation of water, air, and temperature. Now, likewise, you can see different soil properties are also related. They are also related. For example, texture and soil structure. Texture, soil texture is with respect to size of the soil particle, and structure is arrangement of soil particle. So size and arrangement of particle both will affect the water holding capacity of the soil. They will also affect the porosity. The soil structure and texture will affect the porosity, and then it will affect the water holding capacity. So by this way, these texture and structure will also affect the gas movement in the soil, the movement of gas, movement of water, all are affected by soil texture and structure. So therefore, you can see that these factors are interrelated. Then you see soil organism and soil organic matter. Normally, good soil structure means good soil structure will result in good root growth, good microbial growth, good water holding capacity. So such soils of good structure will have better soil organic matter, better microbial growth than the poor soil structure. A soil which is having poor structure means it does not have clods, it does not have the pieces, small pieces of clods, CLODS, clods. You know, big pieces of soil, you know, those are called as clods, CLODS, clods. They are smaller in size, they are bigger in size. They are also called as soil aggregates. They are called as soil aggregates. So these aggregates, if aggregation is not there, that soil will have very poor structure, and that will not have good water holding capacity, that will not have good gas movement, it will not have good activity of organism in the soil, it will always have poor soil organic matter. So you can see the soil texture and structure are affecting number of other factors in soil. So they are related. Your structure is related to water holding capacity, it is related to gas movement, it is related to organism in the soil. Similarly, pH also affects the growth of the organism in the soil. pH can also affect the plant growth directly also. So you can see many factors are interrelated. You cannot separate them. So this is how interaction of factors happen in soil, particularly water, air, temperature, they are related. Particularly soil structure, texture, they are related to water holding capacity of the soil and gas movement in the soil. Now we'll discuss one by one in detail all these factors. I would try to finish tomorrow this lecture, but now still 6 minutes are more, 6 more minutes are there. So let me discuss temperature. So friends, if I ask you, what is definition of temperature? So you remember just 4 words. If somebody asks you what is temperature, so it is measure of intensity of heat. It is, yes. Yes.
Sir, definition of temperature?
Yes, yes. How hot or how much cold, how much hot or how much cold a substance is. A matter is,
Okay.
how much colder, how much hotter or hot a substance is, a matter is, it is called as temperature. The hotness or coldness of a material, of matter is called as temperature. So similarly, temperature is a measure of intensity of heat. How intense heat is. Is it in low intensity? Is it in high intensity heat? That is called as temperature. This is the best definition of the temperature. Limits of survival. So all kind of living organism on the earth can survive from -35 to +75 degrees centigrade. Up to these temperatures, organisms have been recorded on the earth, but no organism is found at below 35 degrees centigrade or above 75 degrees centigrade. So this is the range for survival, only for survival. This is not for growth. This is for survival. Then practical limits. Practical limits for plants are normally 15 to 40 degrees centigrade. So you should remember this data. Such kind of questions are asked in exam. So 15 to 40 degrees centigrade temperature is the practical limit for the plants. Whatever common plants are there in temperate areas, in subtropical areas, or in tropical area, this is the range. Optimum temperature for plant growth are dynamic. So dynamic means the optimum requirement of temperature changes with the time of the, or changes with the stage of the crop. At germination, temperature requirement may be different. At seedling stage, at tilling stage, at reproductive stage, at maturity stage, the temperature requirement are different. It is not that one temperature is optimum throughout the growing season of the crop. It changes, it is variable. I can tell you the case of rice. For most of the vegetative phase period, it requires 20 to 25 degrees centigrade temperature. But at flowering stage, at pollination stage, it needs 33.3 degrees centigrade temperature. Best temperature for rice at pollination stage, fertilization stage is 33.3 degrees centigrade. But at maturity stage, again, it comes down to 25 to 26 degrees centigrade or up to 24 degrees centigrade. So this is how temperature requirement changes with the stage of the crop. So number one, species differences are also there. Means the temperature requirement of chickpea may be different from temperature requirement of the sugarcane. So crop to crop variability is there in temperature requirement. Varietal differences are also there. Some varieties, rice is same, but some rice is grown in Japan, which is a tropical country. Some rice is grown in Afghanistan, in India, which is basically subtropical or tropical country. So you can see the temperature requirement changes with the variety, with the species, with the location, age of the plant, the stage of development. So therefore, it is said that optimum temperature for plant growth are dynamic. So we will continue tomorrow because only 2 minutes are left. So I can close this presentation and you can ask question for 2 minutes or you can ask anything for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, sir, for your nice and comprehensive presentation. And here our classmate, two classmates has questions.
Sir, there is come WHC. What's the meaning of that WHC?
WSC.
W.
Yeah, it is water holding capacity. Water holding capacity. How much water?
So next question. Yes.
Thank you, teacher, for this presentation. I ask about segment curve. Segment curve just show the growth of crop plant. Also, we can use for fruit plants.
So one thing I tell you, time is very short. Time is very short. Just listen to me, please. What you can do?
No problem, sir.
No. Just you can send me question by email. You can
Okay,
send
sir.
me
Okay.
question by email. I will answer all the question. Or tomorrow when I start the class, you can ask me questions or you send me question on email. I will reply on YouTube here. I will reply
Okay,
live.
sir.
Your answer, send me always, send me questions on email. I will reply here. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sir, could you please share that presentation through email?
I will send everywhere, but every time. You need not to ask me in future because I will send everything. I'll send you number of books, number of PPTs, number of everything I will send. Don't worry.
Thank you, sir.
I will keep
Have a
record.
nice day, sir.
I will not let you to ask. I will not give you chance to ask. I will send everything. Don't worry. Okay. So Khuda Hafiz. See you tomorrow.
Khuday Paman, Khuday Paman.
أنا أسيب